Virgo, okay, so ready or not, that phrase, I want to stay with it before anything else because I think it's the most honest thing about this situation. Not the coming back that's real, and I'll get to it, but the ready or not. The specific acknowledgement embedded in the title itself that your readiness is not actually the determining factor here. They're coming regardless. And there's something slightly destabilizing about that, about something significant moving toward you on its own timeline, without asking whether the moment is convenient, without waiting for you to have fully processed the previous chapter, without the courtesy of arriving when you feel prepared to receive it. Life does that sometimes, sends things before you're ready. And the question isn't whether you can make yourself ready in time. The question is who you are when it arrives. Let me describe where you actually are right now, because I think there's a version of your interior landscape that you present to yourself as much as to anyone else, and then there's the actual version, and they're not entirely the same. The presented version, I've moved on. I've been doing the work. I know what I want. I'm in a good place. Some of that is genuinely true. The actual version contains something additional. A small, stubborn, refuses to fully resolve thing that exists in the place this person occupied, not consuming your functioning, living, moving forward in real ways, but present, the way a healed scar is present, not actively hurting. There, when you press on it, you haven't fully let go. And I want to say something about that before we go anywhere else. That's not failure. That's honesty about what was real. There's something about why they're coming back that I want to approach carefully, because coming back can mean different things. There's the coming back that happens because someone has genuinely changed, has sat with what they lost and what their role in losing it was, has done something real with that sitting, not just felt bad, but understood something, shifted something, arrived somewhere meaningfully different from where they were. And there's the coming back that happens because something else didn't work out, because the alternatives proved less compelling than anticipated, because absence produced longing without producing the specific interior work that longing is supposed to motivate. These two versions of coming back feel similar from the outside. They feel different from the inside of the person receiving them. And I want to be honest with you about something. I can't tell you from here which one this is. What I can tell you is what to pay attention to when it arrives. Hold on, because there's something specific about how this return is approaching that I keep finding and want to describe. There's urgency in it, not the urgency of someone in crisis, the urgency of someone who has reached a decision and is now in motion, who has been in the deliberation phase long enough that staying in deliberation no longer feels like an option, who has tipped from thinking about this to doing something about it. And urgency tells you something. It tells you the feeling is real. What it doesn't tell you, and this is the part worth holding, is whether the feeling being real is sufficient. Whether real feeling in this particular person produces the specific behaviors that actually make a relationship work. Whether the urgency of wanting you back is accompanied by the understanding of what it means to have you, what it requires, what they were doing or not doing before that made leaving or distance or whatever the specific form of the separation was feel necessary. Feeling is real and feeling is not enough. Both things are true. There's an image, someone who has been in a dark room for long enough that they've adjusted to it, have started to navigate it fairly well, know where things are, have found a certain competence in the darkness, and then a door opens and the light is disorienting before it's welcome. Because light, when it arrives after darkness, doesn't feel like relief immediately. It feels like too much, like something the eyes aren't ready for, like something requiring adjustment before it can be actually seen. That's the quality of this return. Light arriving before your eyes have fully adjusted, and the disorientation is real, is appropriate, is not something to rush through in either direction, not toward the light too fast, not back into the darkness to avoid the adjustment. Stay in the threshold. Let your eyes adjust. See what's actually there before deciding what to do with it. The more I sit with this, the more I keep finding something I need to say plainly. Your readiness matters, even if it's not what determines their timing. Ready or not, here they come doesn't mean your inner state is irrelevant. It means external events don't wait for perfect internal conditions, which is true. Life is full of things arriving before we're entirely prepared. But you still get to choose how you receive this. You still get to determine the pace of it, the terms of it, what access looks like and what it doesn't, what you need to see before you give more than you've already given. The coming back is on their timeline. What happens after they arrive that's on yours? I want to describe something about what Virgo specifically needs in a reconciliation or a return. Whatever form this takes, not what sounds good, what you actually need. Accountability that is specific enough to be credible, not the general I know I messed up that people offer when they want to come back without having to name what they actually did. The specific version, the one that demonstrates they actually understand what the problem was, what it cost you, what they were doing or failing to do that created the conditions that made distance feel necessary. Because general accountability is easy, it costs almost nothing. It can be offered without any real internal reckoning having happened. Specific accountability costs something. It requires actually having sat with what happened, actually having examined their own behavior with enough honesty to name it accurately, actually having arrived somewhere more self aware than where they were. When this person comes back, listen for specificity, not to test them, to actually understand what you're working with. The difference between vague and specific will tell you more than the sincerity of their delivery. Wait, there's something about your own interior I want to address before we go further, because there's a question sitting in you that you haven't fully let yourself ask out loud. Do you actually want this? Not do you have feelings, not does a part of you respond to the thought of this person, not would receiving their return feel good in the first hours or days? Do you actually want this? The real version. The version where you navigate the rebuilding of something that had genuine problems. Where you face the specific, ordinary, unglamorous challenge of being in something with this person again and finding out whether what they're bringing now is different enough to produce different results. That's a harder question than whether you still feel something, and it deserves honest examination before they arrive. Not to manufacture a position, to know where you actually stand, because walking into this conversation knowing what you want, not perfectly, not with complete certainty, but with genuine access to your own current truth is completely different from walking into it while still working out the answer. Both are valid, but knowing which situation you're in helps. I want to say something about the ready or not quality of this moment because I've been hearing it as potential disruption, as something arriving before you fully prepared. But there's another way to read it. Ready or not can also mean the preparation phase is over, that you've done what the preceding period asked of you, that the processing and the distance and the living of your life without this person has done its work, has clarified things, has shown you who you are without this dynamic and what you actually want from connection. And maybe the timing of their coming back is less about their urgency and more about yours being complete. Maybe you're readier than you're giving yourself credit for. Not for them necessarily. For this moment, for the specific challenge of facing something that was unfinished and seeing it clearly enough to make a real decision about it. That kind of readiness doesn't feel like readiness. It feels like your ordinary life continuing until the door opens. The last thing, when they come back, and I want to say this clearly without drama, without the inflation that this kind of reading can sometimes produce, you don't owe them a yes. You don't owe them a no either. You owe yourself honesty about what you actually want and what would actually serve your life. And then you owe the situation a response that comes from that honesty rather than from the pull of their wanting or the relief of being wanted or the particular comfort of the familiar, even when the familiar had problems. People coming back is not inherently meaningful. People coming back changed is meaningful. And changed is something demonstrated over time through behavior in ordinary moments, through the presence of things that were absent before, through the absence of things that were present and damaging before. You can be open to this and you can require evidence both simultaneously, not as tests, as the reasonable, self respecting, entirely appropriate position of someone who has been through something and learned from it. Ready or not, here they come. But you get to decide what here means, what you make available, what you require before you make more available than that. That's yours, completely and entirely yours. Regardless of their timeline, if something in this touched something true, if a moment landed somewhere honest, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me what resonated, even just a few words. It means more than you know.